Professor, thanks for coming on. What did you make of that debate?
Well, it was pretty clear what their strategy is, and you hit on a lot of the points, is that they're going to talk about race and they're going to talk about Trump as a mass killer, and that means they're not going to answer any questions about fracking, a new Green Deal, or packing the court, or who they would appoint, because they are elite leftists who have made a bargain with desperate hardcore socialists and are not allowed to speak that. Even AOC kind of is in the deal. She's had a little anemic tweet and said, actually, fracking's kind of bad. So they know where they're allowed to go and where they're not. And that they take kind of a cue from Barack Obama, a guy who went to prep school, grew up in an upper middle class. His grandmother was a bank official. And then he told us he was part of the underclass and he had been a victim of racism. And then he was actually a moderate. He was going to balance the budget. He wasn't going to let China be in debt. We weren't going to be in debt to China anymore. He said that he was opposed to gay marriage. He was going to close the border, and we know where that would. He had the most liberal voting record, like Kamala Harris almost, in the Senate. So we know what they're doing. They won't talk. They won't discuss. And then what's the tactical manner in which they carry out that strategy? I think it's tripart. They're going to stay in seclusion because they feel that these polls are accurate, and they're going to do a run out the clock and not get any controversial statement, and then play, because they're not authentic people, play as if it's good old Kamala, who grew up in Oakland when actually her parents were PhDs. She lived a pretty privileged lifestyle. And good old Joe from Scranton, a working class guy who became a multimillionaire after 5 decades in government. And they're not going to come out and they're not going to say anything that's controversial. Joe, that quote from Joe Biden proved that. And then second, they're going to outsource this to the media and the Pelosi Democrats. So every 4 or 5 days, we're going to get that Donald Trump insulted the war dead, or he didn't, and they were all encapsulated in Kamala Harris's talking points, or he didn't bring up the assassins with Putin who were after our soldiers in Afghanistan, or Trump called the coronavirus a hoax, which we know even liberal fact checkers have rejected, or he said something at Charlottesville. And that's going to be, and right before the coronavirus struck Trump, we were when the Melania's trusted friend actually taped her phone call. That was a 3-day psychodrama. And now it's the turn of Nancy Pelosi today to say 25th Amendment, he's crazy. And so that's what the media's role is. And then you can see finally I'll be frank, Tucker, the moderators have a modus operandi. They always have the gotcha question for Trump. Didn't you say something about not accepting the election? Didn't you say something at Charlottesville? Didn't you? And then to the other side, it's we're not going to ask you anything about you ain't black, or you insulted an African-American journalist and called him basically a junkie and a cocaine user, or why, Kamala, did you call Joe Biden a racist? No embarrassing questions like that. So that's what they're hoping at. And then it begs the question, what's Trump to do about this? When it's a 360-degree opponents and the celebrities and the academic world and the intellectuals and the wealthy and the elite of Silicon Valley and Wall Street. I think he's got to emphasize that this election's on class. It's not on race. There's 100 million people, muscular people, are out there every day taking a risk that they're going to be infected while they serve you at a store, or they bring your DoorDash food to your curbside, or they bring your oven when it blows up from Home Depot, or they're trucking all night, or they're producing food, or they're farming. And yes, they don't always have the correct mask, and maybe they don't social distance, but they're keeping the country going for whom? The Zoom and the Skype class that are in their basements telemarketing or teleworking or whatever they do and making a lot of money, and then hectoring everybody that they're politically incorrect, or they're racist, or their mask is an inch too small, or they were 1 foot closer. And Trump's got to say, you know, I'm one with these people. I want to frack because that frees us from these Middle East quagmires, and it gives your kids good wages, and it doesn't send your kid to Afghanistan or Iraq. I want to get out of the Green Deal because I want you to have a job. I don't want a bunch of elites in the Bay Area to tell you how to live your life. So it's got to be a class argument, and I think he can say, I'm one with you, and I don't have any apologies for getting sick. That's what the president's supposed to do. You're supposed to take risks, meet foreign leaders, bring individuals into the White House, crisscross the country. Yeah, even have a rally. And you know what? When I get sick, I'm going to take risks by taking experimental drugs if I have to get back on the job. I am not going to stay in my basement and quarantine myself and isolate myself and pass judgments on others that you're not not willing to take the same risk. And I think that argument's going to appeal. A lot of people are getting tired of the sort of things that you outlined tonight.
Well, I certainly am. The people who benefited the most from the country seem to despise it the most, which is unsustainable. Professor Vic Davis Hanson, great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much